Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and today I thought we would have a look at, well, another look actually at my Spectrum Plus 3. Now, I did do a video on this a little bit back about using a 3.5 inch disk drive, external disk drive on this, the same as I do on my Amstrad CPC 6128. In fact, it's exactly the same disk drive because it's the same connector. And I showed it loading a game from a 3.5 inch disc. Now, that's all very well and good, but it does mean you have a big stack of 3.5 inch discs with your computer. So just before Christmas I was browsing on the internet and I come across a little unit which I've bought. Now, most people, if they want to expand like the Spectrum Plus 3s or the older 48, they buy a Div IDE, which is a little unit that fits in the expansion port on the back there and allows you to put an SD card in it, or the older ones run with a hard drive connected, or a MMC card. There's lots and lots of different variations. But before all that came out, there was a much simpler version. And that's basically what I've gone for, because I didn't really want something sticking out the back there. I like my vintage computers to not look modified, even if they are. I don't really like the modified look externally anyway. So I didn't really want one with a thing sticking out the back there. Yeah, if it was a 48K, you could argue, yeah, well, they all had an expansion on the back for their joysticks, printers, anything. And yeah, on a 48K, they don't look too bad. You suppose you could hide one in an old case on the 48K if you really wanted, if you didn't want it to stand out. But on the Plus 3, the joystick ports and everything were already built into these, so I think it doesn't look in keeping having a modern unit on the back there. So what I've got, and it arrived, I ordered it just before Christmas, but obviously with the Christmas delays because this comes from Eastern Europe, and it arrived a couple of days ago, was that. Now that's a ZXMMC dual SD card interface. Now the advantage of this is an internal unit. It's a dual storage internal unit actually, and it was quite a bit cheaper than some of the Div IDEs. This only cost me, it was just under 30 quid delivered, and that includes an SD card with a load of software on it and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, now I'm not actually so much of a stranger to these, because a while back I actually built my own version of that. Not for the Plus 3, for a 48K. Actually, I've done some videos on it on my YouTube channel, and I've got actually a lot more footage about that I've never got around to editing or uploading, so I might get around to doing that. That was a very, very simplified version of this, basically the same thing, only that used an old 3.5 inch IDE hard drive. I was using, I think it was a 3.5 gig IDE hard drive. Using it like that, you can only use half the storage capacity, so I had about 1.8 gig hard drive running on a 48K Spectrum. But it was all command line based. Yeah, you could save SNA files to it, and you could call them back and stuff, but it wasn't very elegant. It was very, very clunky to use. It was all soldered up on trackboard as well. It did work. I did actually get it. I got to format the hard drive on it. I managed to transfer a couple of SNA files onto it. Well, actually, I loaded some software from tape and captured it and saved it to the hard drive, and I could play it back and it had run. But it was very, very clunky and not an elegant solution. It was a bit. I did it more as a practice, just to see what you could do. But anyway, today we're talking about this now. What I've done, I've just set this up now. I've now got it set up to a nice LCD monitor there. I'll just pan you onto the monitor, and what I'm going to do is I'll get you on the monitor like that, and I'll power this thing up, I'll fire it up, I'll show you the software running, and then I will go back down onto the computer. I'll open it up for you and show you the install inside it and how neat it is, and another little modification I'm planning to do to this, and just how neat I've actually got the this is obviously, I said it's a dual card solution. It's got an internal memory storage, a 2 gig card internal, but it's also got a external SD card slot on it, which I've hidden on the computer, and I'm quite pleased with actually how I've hidden it. You won't actually be able to see it until I take the cover off, and you'll be able to see where it's hidden. But anyway, yeah, we will power this computer up, and you can see exactly what this thing does. So let's see if that's... Let's see if I can get a bit closer, maybe. See if we can get you a really good shot on that screen. I'm really pleased with how I've got this displaying on this LCD monitor. I've just made a RGB to SCART lead up for this computer, and I had a bit of fun with it. It was all down to the issue with the blanking, which, if you don't know about the blanking, it's basically on a SCART connector. You well, natively, if you plug in a SCART, it will be expecting composite video. Now there's 2 pins, a blanking pin and a blanking pin ground. Now if they're between, excuse me, if they're between 0 and 0.4 volts, the television or the LCD monitor of it will expect a composite signal on the SCART socket. Now if you raise the voltage on that to between 1 and 3 volts, the SCART connector will expect an RGB signal on it. Now obviously the old speccy, the speccy plus 3 outputs an RGB signal. Now it needs a little bit of modification to run into a SCART. It's a little bit hot for a SCART, so you have to add a few resistors to it to calm it down a bit. But the problem is, it's trying to get the Sinclair to switch that little to switch the port supply on, so it actually triggers for RGB. Now you've got 12 volts out on the video connector on a Sinclair Spectrum Plus 3, which you'd think, oh, that's too much, you can't switch a a 1 to 3 volt line with a 12 volt supply. But actually you can kind of get away with it on a Sinclair Spectrum Plus 3 just by the way that it's actually set up. Basically you've got the 12 volts comes through a 1K resistor. Now the way that the SCART's wired inside the TVs, they also have a 1K resistor before they go to the ground line. So what basically you've created is a potential divider. So the connector at the signal line actually sees, it doesn't quite see a volt, it sees about 0.8 to 0.9 of a volt, which is technically under what it needs to switch to the RGB signal. But on a lot of tellies like this one, it will. With that little 0.8, 0.9 of a volt on that pin, it will actually think that it's got a volt on there, and it will actually trigger the RGB. But not on all TVs. Now I've tried this with about 4 TVs I've got, and this is the only, well, one of them works, but that TV is not going to be here for that long. It's actually the TV off my boat. It's only resting here at the moment for the winter. But the TV that I have in my workshop, it will sync to it, but it just rolls. You can see the image, but you can't get a stable image on it. My little 9-inch, 10-inch CRT set, which I was sure it would work on, it doesn't work on at all, and I'm beginning to expect that doesn't actually accept an RGB signal. But this little Maxim, which I picked up from a car boot a while back for a few, I think I paid £3 for it. Look at that image. That is the crispest, clearest image I've ever seen off a Spectrum. But I'm getting off my whole point of this. I'm talking about the MMC card that I've installed in this. Now, if you can see, it looks pretty much like you would see any Plus 3 screen apart from the copyright at the bottom. You've got the normal 1982, 1986 and then the 1987 Amstrad PLC copyright. If you look underneath that, you've got copyright 2002 to 2015 Gary Lancaster. And then under that it tells you the physical drives. You've got the one floppy, which you would expect. But next to that you see 2 MMC, because it's got the 2 MMC cards loaded in it. Now I will say when you buy this it does only come with one. I had a box full of old MMC cards that have come out of old tablets and smartphones and stuff, so I found another 2 gig one, and I've used the instructions and formatted that up, and that's now my external card in this. But anyway, what I will do is I will just go through a few of the quick commands and just show you the actual structure of the hard drive. So if we go to +3 basic, basically you've got a disk operating system in +3 basic, but this now also works for the internal hard drive. Now what I can do, if I type, sorry that was the wrong letter, cat, which you'd know from using the +3 disk drive, but then we type tab, enter, it will give us a listing of what's on the MMC cards. Now if you can see here, this is the card 0, which is your master, your primary hard drive basically. And as you can see, you've got some startup stuff on there, but it has all these games files. Now these are what you get. You get about 600 games on this that I bought. I can't guarantee if you used to buy one of these you get that. It was just it was part of the deal. You got all these. You get 20 directories. Each one's probably got a couple of hundred games in it. Some have got more, some have got less. You know. I think it all, the 4 megabytes each, I think, the directory, so you can fit a lot of Spectrum games as basic files, .bas files in a 4 megabyte partition. There's still a lot of space on that, even that internal hard drive. It's got 1.8 gig free on it still. And then underneath that, if you'll see MMC Unit 1, that's the one that I've just installed and formatted. And at the moment it's not got anything on it at all. I've created one directory on it called Programs, which I will use to put some other software on this. You can copy between the two, the internal and the external drive as well. The only reason I've done it this way is I don't want to keep opening the computer up to put the card in my PC to transfer any software across. What I can do is I can use the little card I've fitted externally to this. Take that out, put it in my PC, copy software across to it, stick it in this, and then copy it across onto the internal drive if I want. So that's the reason I've done it like that. Anyway, I've shown you what you can see there. What I'll do is I'll reboot it. There we go. And Loader, if you are familiar with this, and I think the +2 is the same, would either load from tape or from disk just by hitting Loader. But now if we hit Loader, it'll start loading, but it'll load from the SD card. So if we look here, +3E file loader. Now it is very simplistic, this. I mean, it's running on a 128K Spectrum. It's not going to be a full GUI or anything, but we do have a menu system here. I say it's just full of games at the moment, and to be totally honest, that's the whole reason I've got this. Is that I fancied playing a load of games on an old computer. Let's get into one of these and let's see what games we've got. All you do is you scroll down them, press enter, and it'll start loading the loading from the SD card. It takes a second or two. Remember, it's only running on a very, very, very basic, slow computer, really. We've got 3.5 megahertz processor, 128 kilobytes of RAM. But anyway, here we go. This is loaded up. We've got all this software. Let's see if we can find something which... oh, look there, Grid Runner. Let's load Grid Runner up. We can see it is very, very fast loading. It's faster than disk. Just press a key. There we go, that's up straight away. Let's have a go with this. I'm useless at these games, I will say that, but But yeah, look, that's working quite nicely. I've died straight away, but at least it shows you that it's working. To obviously get out of it, just press the reset button on the side of the computer, and it brings you back to the screen. Then you just have to hit for the loader again. Like I say, it's pretty quick. There are other loaders you can get for this. You don't have to just use what came on it. Other people have wrote other menu systems for it, which I will investigate in the future, but at the moment I'm just going to play with this. So yeah, that's it. Like I said, that's it running, so you can see it. You can see it all running there. And now I'm going to switch it off, unplug all this, and I will give you a quick look inside, and let you see how it works inside. So we will. We'll just pan the camera down. Let's see if we can get that up a bit. Right, there we go. Let's move that round. There we are. Now I will switch this off, obviously, to open it up. Just connect everything. Now I've already taken the screws out of this so you can see inside it. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to move this round a little bit, because I want to be careful with the membrane inside it, because it is in good condition in this one, and I don't know how available they are for the Spectrum Plus 3. Just disconnect the power LED, and you can see what we see inside it. Okay, there we go. Now it might be better if I take you off the tripod and we go in freestyle here. Right, now this is the heart of the beast, and what we've got here is the let's see if we can get that to focus. It's a fixed focus camera this, so it's not ideal for doing anything like this. Let me get something to point with. What we've got is we've got the Z80 processor there, and we've taken it out of its socket, we've put it on this data board here, put the Z80 back in, and that is really the only major modification to the computer. Now that's got the SD card there. It's actually a micro SD and an adapter, but you've got an SD card there. Then this ribbon cable coming off, and what I've done is on the back here, I think there's the parallel port, is it the serial port, the modem port, or whatever it is on the back of the Plus 3, or the MIDI port. I've just used a little bit of self-adhesive tape, a little bit of double-sided tape, and I've just stuck that to the top of the plastic there. Now the only other thing I had to do was I had to take a file. Now I said I don't like modifying the outsides of these cases, but I really don't think this is a particularly bad modification. What I had to do is I just had to take a file, and I just had to file a little bit of the plastic there down, so that then holds on the top of it. That basically then presses down on the top of that and holds it in place really, really firmly. So I've just took about 3 mil of plastic off there, and again, just in there, just with a file really carefully, I've just filed away perhaps about 3 mil of plastic, 2 or 3 mil of plastic, and that is all it needs to give the clearance for the little micro SD card to come out the back. Now when I reassemble this, you'll see that, and you'll see how, unless I was to point it out to you, you wouldn't know there was a SD card sticking out the back of this computer. Now the one modification I do want to do with this is when these come, they ship with, let me just see if I can get it out of the box. This is hard to do one-handed. There we go. They ship with a drive light LED like that, just on a wire, which just plugs onto the board there. But I really didn't want to drill a hole in the case to fit anything like that. Like I said, I don't really like modifying the cases on these things. Just shut this back down. So I'll show you what my plan is to do with this. Just get the case to sit back where it should go. There we go, that's nice. So what my plan is, what I'm going to do is I've just ordered, now I don't know if I'm going to do it with that one there or the one on the front of the drive. I'll probably do it with that one there. What I've done is I've ordered some bi-colour LEDs, so it's red and green, the ones that I've ordered. So what I'll do is I'll connect one end up to the red side there, and I'll connect the green side up to the SD card, sorry, yes, to the SD card board. So we'll have a drive light indicator. It'll flash red, it'll light up red to indicate power, and it will change, it'll flash green when the SD card's accessing. That's my plan anyway. I hope that will work. That should look quite good anyway. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, I'll just show you on the back of here how I've got that little micro SD coming out. So we'll turn it round. So bear in mind I haven't got the screws in it, so but yeah, there we go. So I don't think this is going to focus, but if you can see there, that is the little micro SD there. So all you have to do, it's in the little MIDI port, is pull it out like that, and it loads in just like that. Now isn't that cool? Okay, I think I will leave it at that for today. So hope you enjoyed that anyway, and I will say, yeah, I'm really quite pleased with it. I'm really, for what it cost, I definitely think if you, now this isn't suitable for all Spectrums, because this will have to work with a Spectrum that has the dual ROMs in it. Because the other thing you do, as well as, I should have said this before, as well as installing this little data board, is you pull out the two original ROMs, the little mask ROMs out of the Spectrum, and you replace it with a pair of EEPROMs that come with the kit, which have the extra commands in the DOS and everything in them, and make it all work. So yeah, you have to install that at the same time. But like I said, it was under 30 quid, and I still think it's a really, really elegant solution if you've got a computer which will support it, which is basically, I think it's supported on the old 128 toast rack. Don't quote me on that though, but it's definitely supported on the ZX Spectrum Plus 2 A and B and the Spectrum Plus 3. It's not compatible with the grey Spectrum Plus 2. It won't work on that, but it will work on these. And like I said, I think it's a really nice, elegant solution, and it's an alternative to the old Divide EE. So I'll leave it at that anyway. I think I've rambled on far too long. So thanks for watching that, and goodbye.